So I mentioned in my video on reading backwards that I really wanted to get my hands on Pareto's work, but his best known work was out of print and not available in a cheap copy. And there is a abridged version that you can get on Amazon, probably print on demand, paperback, certainly paperback, and it's $75. And I did not want to do that. But I have two pieces of good news, because I actually got Pareto, and I got two things from Pareto that were not available when I was looking into it. Because when I last looked into it, it was like 4 months ago, and a lot of things can change in 4 months. And so one thing is that this guy, Eric Robert Morse, put out a new translation of this basically essay, The Rise and Fall of the Elites, which is not his best known work, but it sort of illustrates a lot of his thinking. And I read this one already, and it's interesting. I can see the influence of his thinking. But the other thing is, so his best known work is this book, A Treatise on General Sociology. Sorry, Zorro, trying not to spook you. And so this is like first one's almost 1,000 pages, and the second one's even longer. But I've already started reading it, which maybe not a good thing to do when I'm also reading Wealth of Nations, which in most texts is over 1,000 pages on its own. But the reason I've wanted to read him is because Pareto was really interesting, and most people know Pareto because of the Pareto principle, often called the 80-20 rule, which is basically roughly 80% of any outcome is accounted for by roughly 20% of input. So 20% of your customers make 80% of your money, 20% of the people do 80% of the work, 80% of the results you get come from 20% of the work. That was in a different book, which is a cheaper, I think you can get that one on Amazon, and it's also, not sure if it's print on demand, but it's a cheaper paperback. But this was his magnum opus, basically. Sorry, Zorb. And so I wanted to read it. If I could get the abridged version affordably, I might try it. There is a case to be made that I should suck up, pay $75, because I value my time at way more than that to read the extra amount, but I'm also curious to see how much Pareto can actually he accounts. And even, I've just barely started reading this, and I'm seeing some really interesting ideas in it that I'm going to want to discuss, and I've seen allusions to it. Pareto is, I think, a really underrated thinker in terms of how much he influenced other thinkers in the English-speaking world, a lot of whom would read his translation in like French, because this was the only complete English translation, and it's out of print. But I got it from, oh dear, I don't have the little pamphlet. I got it from a seller in Wisconsin, and I'm going to do a supplement to this video, probably without Zorro, because he seems to want to go back, and I'll show you the pamphlet for the seller, because they were selling this book, which is ex-library, so it's not as great as if it were brand new, but it's still in really good condition, and it was $20 plus $10 shipping, and most copies that I was seeing were, if you wanted a good copy, it was like $200, and if you wanted even a bad copy, it was like $80. So this was considerably cheaper, and I really appreciate that. And you have some booksellers will price things high and hope someone will pay it. Some will price books to move, and I'm very happy that they priced this one to move. And as soon as I saw it, I grabbed it, and I'm going to, again, do a little insert showing who they are, because I really, really appreciate this. So yeah, so this is the seller, Chequamegon Books in Wisconsin, that I got Pareto's A Treatise on General Sociology from, and I am really excited, really appreciate this. And as I said, I started reading it, and I'm already, like in the first chapter, there are some really interesting insights. And Pareto was well known, really influential in his time, but we've sort of forgot him in the English-speaking world, except for the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, we often call it. And so I'm really excited to have this. I don't know how long it'll take me to get through it, because again, I read a lot of things at once, and this is 2,000 pages, but I think it's going to be worth reading for everything I know about Pareto, and I've wanted to read it, so I'm really, really excited to have this. And so anyways, thanks for watching. I'm Magpie, this is Zorro, and I'll see y'all in the next one.